Hello, friends. Oh, I just remembered something. Okay, I just had the gain marked up on. Hello, everyone. I had gain up for yesterday's Judge Extreme. I forgot to take it off, so you would have just had a pounding in the ear holes. Hello, everyone. Dave is with me here. You can see him. Dave will just move across. Hello, Dave. He's going to do a wonderful painting demonstration with Andy Buckz. Andy is just elsewhere at the moment, but we'll show off the model that Dave's going to be painting. So this is the painting area that we have set up. We will probably do manual focus, buddy. So I'll switch that to manual focus so that we can. We'll see, because if you pull away and you want to talk about paints, we might leave it on auto for the moment. If you want me to change to manual, we can do.
Yep.
So yes, we're going to have a painting demonstration with Dave. Let's just nip over to the schedule for today and I'll have a quick rundown of what we're looking at for today. So yes, we have the paint session with Dave and Buckz talking through some non-metallic metal. It's going to be an amazing session. After that has finished, we're going to grab a couple of people and have some more interviews. And we'll also have the Stream Chat Award. So we've selected 10 models which we will present on the stream, and the stream will set up and vote for those 10 models. So very exciting. I think that could be another world first that we've done, so it's great. Then Andy. I do have the ability to ban you, Mini Mansa, so keep talking, champion. Andy will have a quick catch up with the judges and
Dino's probably been better than me at non-metallics for a long time.
And do a discussion with them. And then finally, the presentation ceremony at 2 o'clock in approximately 4 hours from now. It's going to be great. I'm very excited for it. But this is Dave's moment to talk about non-metallic metals. So we're just going to go back to the waiting screen and I'll just find where Buckz is. But we'll be back soon, friends. Get excited.
Boom in the middle and turn off YouTube. Let's go. Where's the
other mouse, buddy? Put that on top of my laptop so you don't get mixed up.
Alrighty.
Amazing.
G'day. You've done an intro. We've done everything. Excellent. Awesome. G'day, everyone. How are you in the stream? Pump us up. Let's go. It's day 3 of Crimson Brush, and I'm here with the lovely Dave Colwell.
G'day.
How you going, my friend?
I'm good. I've been thinking about how I'm going to do this for a few weeks.
A few weeks?
It's all culminating now. I've been discussing with a few others here about the best way to try and do this, and I think we've come up with the right idea, I think, so we'll see how it goes, I think. But
we will see how it goes. So,
you don't know yet, so I can explain it to you.
No, we don't. I don't know, so I'll be a part of it. So, quick rundown, I don't know if Trent said it, but what I will do, my job here will be liaise between the stream and with Dave, just so he can focus on either explaining what he's doing or I can work through some of the questions you might have as it's happening. So before we get started, let's just ease in. How was your day judging yesterday, mate?
It was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
I loved it. Loved every second of it. The time went so fast, I didn't even notice it. Could have kept going all day.
Yeah.
Would love to have more models. So if you haven't entered yet, come along and enter next year.
Come along and be a part of it.
I'm not sure whether I'll be judging next year, but probably will be because I want to.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. And the level overall has just been ridiculous.
Yeah, it's gone up.
Fun looking at all those
this
models.
is the second year that you've judged as well,
Yeah.
And also Dave does a lot of work on photos. So bear with us if we're a little bit fried because Dave has been absolutely going hard. I think Dave probably did an 11 or 12-hour day yesterday.
And
so
I haven't stopped. It was the same on Friday.
On Friday as well.
Like
so
photos, 7 hours of photos on Friday. Then I don't know.
Yeah.
6 hours, not 6 hours of judging, but yeah, we'll figure it out. I think
we'll figure it out.
Can do this.
But that's that just is a testament really to how much you love this and love our scene, isn't it, mate?
I do love it. I do love it.
All right, so let's get stuck in. What are we painting today?
So we've got a new Niobe model from Inner Kingdoms.
Yeah.
It's a really nice elf academic.
Yep.
And it's been designed in a really smart way to give you lots of nice areas to learn on.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, you've got these big, fairly flat shoulder pads, which are, doing a blend on here and here is going to be tricky, but it's a good thing to learn. And then you've got some fabrics, some good skin. The face is absolutely beautiful. It's got expression. You've got options for how you end up giving her some room to express. Then you've got more detail as you get into the chest area, and the feathers add even more, and then around the neck and then the crown gets even more complex. So you've got all different complexity levels for non-metallics, and you've got some really nicely sculpted hair with some good detail, and you can get like dark around here behind her on the back of the neck collar, which will frame and contrast the face well.
It's offering
a very good model for academic purposes.
Offering a lot of opportunity. I mean, sometimes academics really just focus in on skin, facial structure, and hair. And this one adds a few extra elements, so I think that's why it's perfect for the demonstration today. So shout out to Neko for sponsoring us and providing us with this fantastic model to get stuck in on. Just a quick one, Will Brightly is banging around Australia right now, and he's also teaching on this model, I believe, too. So
yes, he is, yeah. This is the model he's using for his classes.
So you got to,
there's probably a bunch of people in Australia who will end up painting this model in the next few weeks or already have. So there'll be a lot of them around on the internet.
There will be, which is always great to see where people take it. All right, so where do you want to start us, mate? Do you want to start us with, how you've set up your palette, or you just want to get stuck in? What do you want?
We can start on the palette. So I'm just going to chuck some Lami and medium here, which is I use so much of. I've added to just a third-party bottle.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to just drop it out of there.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be up here, but you won't see it, I think, on stream so well.
Yeah.
And then basically I've got the range of colours across here in the middle, which is a near white, which is the AK 3rd Gen Ivory. Then we've got, I don't have ice yellow on there yet, or is it? Yeah, I don't. I'm going to put it out.
Let's get it on there.
Ice yellow from Vallejo, which is a key component into the top end highlights. Can't do without it. Tonally, it's a little bit more yellow than sand yellow, which is a bit more desaturated, and that's another key component. So this one is sand yellow. Then this one here is Japanese uniform from Vallejo. All of these are Vallejo. Sometimes I use other paints, but I've picked like a more simple, and people are probably thinking, simple. But
these are, what you're saying here is that these are very staple colours for a gold, like a basic gold non-metal metallic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, yep.
Yeah.
And then there's English uniform here. So Japanese uniform and English uniform is, I think, like a key to gold. Like,
quintessential
I use
colours.
it almost every single time.
Yeah.
Then there's, I think this is Flat Earth. Yep,
Yeah.
Flat Earth. And then I've got a variety of other colours here. These are Scale Artist ochres, which are very, very similar to Japanese uniform and English uniform. I do use them a lot more now because I like the paints, but I think that they take a little bit longer to paint with. So I'm not going to use them so much today, but I may use them for some glazes just to get a bit of tonality into the mid-tones right near the end. And we've got purple, crimson. This is another purple, or what's that actually? Oh yeah, that's smoke.
Oh,
actually,
can we?
Smoke is very important.
Yeah, can we? I can't wait to get into
black.
smoke.
Yeah,
because
so
it's a very.
It does wonders.
It does.
And then the last one. Sorry, I'll be reaching over to rinse my brush. I'll move that forward a little. Oh no, I can't. All right, and that's the violeting from Scale Artist. So what I'm going to do to start off with is I'm not going to focus on this as part of this class because I think there's a lot of information about positioning lights in NMM out there on the internet already. What I want to focus on is specifically the type of blend that you can use to make non-metallics appear a bit more metal. So I'm going to do a blend on this shoulder, which I'll do as an example of what I believe is an incorrect way to blend non-metallics. That we'll be using these colours. And using the same colours, I'll use the same sort of technique over here, but blend it in a slightly different way, which will show a much more sharp gradient in the blend. And hopefully you'll be able to see the difference in how metal they look. And I've chosen these shoulder pads to do that because they're quite large, something that you can see easier on stream. I did think about using the chest area, and it's probably something that will look better, but it's more complex and it'll take me more time to blend the whole of a sphere, especially with the secondary lights that you want to put in with these. That's probably for another time because there's something very specific that I don't think is out there in any tutorials yet, which is this blend gradient thing. And so I'd like to really focus on that, and I hope it will be useful for people. So I will do a little bit of time focusing on where and how I'm going to pick my my highlights, and picking the position of lights and the shapes of the way you do the colours in non-metallic metal. As long as you get the main specific shapes generally correct, you can do almost anything else with everywhere else in the metal. And that's what I love so much about non-metallic metal, is because it really brings out the painter's own personal style. It's not something that it can be done in true metallics. I'm not saying don't paint in true metallics, because it's just a lot harder and the true metallics take over more. Whereas with non-metallics, it's all about what the painter chooses to do. And so that's why I love it, because it's a real way to let people's style come forward.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
we're gonna take a photo of all the colours that Dave is using today, and we're gonna upload it into the stream chat right now, so you can use that if you want to at home. What would you say, Dave, just specifically with all of those colours? Some of them are very key colours, and some are open for choice for people at home.
Yep. So the key colours would be smoke, English uniform, Japanese uniform, sand, ice yellow, and then the ivory. And this one is there just to provide a little bit more orange into the lower tones.
Yeah.
I won't use it very much, but just a little bit. Most likely I'll mix it with smoke. But these ones here are the most key, and I may not end up using much of these. I might use this orange just for a secondary.
So this colour here,
there,
that flat earth is sort of acting almost like a bit of a bridging colour if you need it.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Alrighty, let us know if our sound quality is all good in the chat too. Please keep us informed on how it's going, because the room does get busier as the day gets on. So the communication from you guys in the stream is perfect. And take us away, mate, when you're ready.
Okay, so I'm going to start just by placing highlights where I see them and why I'm making those decisions. I'll start with the shoulder that I'm going to do wrong first. Now, if you look at the way the light is falling on this at the moment, this is a very broad light, and so it gives you quite a large area here that looks like you could paint it. So I'm going to just bang that on.
Do you use this basically as a mapping phase?
Yes.
Yeah.
Map out the highlights. I'm bumping into the camera there with my brush. Sorry about that if it's shaking it.
Yeah, we're in a tight space on the stream, so bear with us if we've got to operate a little bit on the fly here. But once Dave gets comfortable, we should be fine.
And then the other shoulder, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. So it makes you want to like highlight all the way down to the very edge here, which I think is something that I'll do on this side. But then on the other side, I want to condense the highlight a little bit more, so I'll do it differently. So over here, I'm going to raise it up a bit and leave a bit of space at the front to offset the highlight a little bit with probably I'll only go down to ice yellow or sand yellow there, but you'll see the difference when we get a little bit further along.
I think a lot of the time with that colour, ice yellow, there's lots of different variations of it, right? And they're all very tonally different, I find.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter because it doesn't end up being a big part of the tone. It's just there to... it's the most fully yellow of all of these paints, I think. So
yes.
All of these are a little bit desaturated in certain ways. This has got a bit of green in it. This has got a bit of green in it. This has got a bit of orange or red in it.
Yeah.
This has got a bit of green in it. But this is more purely yellow. But
it's almost like a yolk, right? Like
yeah, more towards
yolk,
white though. So it's got white mixed in, but it's more purely yellow. And you need a little bit of that right near the edges of the highlights to give you the sense of gold shining a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then I won't do both sides of the chest, but I want to show a little bit about thinking here. So when you look from the stream, you've got this main highlight volume here, which comes out. Now, I won't always choose to fill that up the way that it is with this, because with metals, the highlights contract. Do you know what I mean by that when I say they contract? So you've got a very broad volume here, but with metals, the highlight just gets onto a small point.
Yes.
So then I'd also end up putting a line across the top here, because that's going to be a sky reflection. Now, that won't be as bright as that in the end, but I'd also put one along here. And then I'd also probably put something here. And I'd also thought about, like, I probably won't do this time, but when you're thinking about painting these things on a model, you can think about the environment around them. And this is an elf, and I think of, like, high elves that have, like, big high towers. So
Dave Colwell, you think of high elves. I am shocked and awed.
I do like my elves, yeah. So you could, and I may just do this later just to show it if we've got time.
Yeah.
But I may put a dark line just straight through the middle of this here to separate it, to give this sense that there might be like a tower, like obstructing the sunlight or whatever light is creating the light.
So you can pretty much see that Dave, right from the start of his process, even in his mapping phase, is thinking about atmosphere. And it's an incredibly important thing with non-metal metallic to be thinking about your atmosphere, because what non-metal metallic really is just metals and reflections. So,
and then we'd have a line here, because I think this would be
quite bright
metal, and it's an excellent contrast, because you'll have this dark in here, then the contrast of the rim of the headdress or whatever it is, and you've got the hair and then contrast up here. Now, the crown is a very complex device, and so I think about, you can do almost anything up here, as long as it's generally coming from this direction, but I think about how I want the contrast and focus to work with the face. So I definitely want a line on the corner of this bit here.
Yeah. Pushing view sort of into the face.
Yeah, and then I'd leave this part of this headdress dark.
Yeah.
And then I'd probably put a fairly large highlight here. And then here in this leaf, then these other leaves will get, and so you could put them on the lower side or the top side, but this model has, it's a very arrogant looking elf who's looking down her nose at you. So I'm thinking of her head being tilted back, and I want to accentuate that. So I'm choosing to put the lights on the bottom of everything. It may look a little bit strange when you look at it from higher on, but there will be things that I do from
elsewhere in the model, right?
To trick that out. So I put another one here.
I mean, something that's talked about a lot in non-metal metallic is thinking about shapes. Is that something that you encourage people to be thinking about?
Absolutely, and you don't always need to think too deeply. You can just do anything. Like, as long as you get the main highlight shape right, you can. I would suggest, and I recommend to everyone, just go and try something that feels like it could be a cool shape to fit the object. So it doesn't have to be
the shape.
It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be the shape of the thing that you're doing. It could be anything.
So, what sort of shapes right now are you sort of seeing in this crown? What are you sort of identifying early on?
I'm really just thinking about the main priority shapes at the moment rather than the secondary extra shapes that I would use.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm off the screen there.
No, you're fine, I think. Maybe a little bit further up and yeah, perfect, that's perfect.
So they're the main lights I think for now. Like, it would develop further, and I always find it difficult to paint on stream because I usually hold the model so close to my face.
Yeah. Hey, we've got you a little bit on camera now. That's good. We're very tightly packed, so we'd love to be able to keep Dave both in shot with me right now and painting, but we've prioritised the painting today.
Yeah.
If you want to see more of Dave's beautiful face, you can catch it in our judging streams that you can find on Big Deno's YouTube channel, which is linked to all the Crimson Brush events and promotional stuff. Instagram, that sort of thing.
I think that's what I'd use for now. Okay, so now I'm going to try and quickly blend this one here down, but without sort of thinking it non-metallic metal. So I'm going to work, and I'd like Andy to talk for me while I do this, because I'm going to try and.
This is a good time now if you want to come in and ask some questions. I'm just going to remind the chat, if you're just coming in, currently right now Dave Dave Colwell is painting a wonderful academic bust from Nico Galaxy. On this right-hand side, he's going to be demonstrating sort of what he wouldn't do, or
it's not necessarily wrong.
Yeah.
But this is something I see a lot in the way people paint metal, and it doesn't convince that it's just metal.
Yeah. So it's going to demonstrate some of the pitfalls that can happen on the way of pushing in on metal metallic, and then we're going to, on the left side, show you sort of how to negate that and bring out a much more rendered version of metal. What a legend painting, absolute legend. So yeah, please get involved, stream. If you've got questions, we want to hear them. If you'd like to know a little bit more about some of the colour choices or things like that, please filter them in. I can probably answer some of those. But yeah, just obviously pay close attention to the actions that Dave's using, the way he's using his brush, and the method he's applying here.
And the way I'm jumping between the paints, so at the moment I'm making quite big moves.
Yeah, quite drastic shifts. All right, this is a great question, Solstice. What is behind the choice of purple for the base of primer layer? Feel free to hit that one, Dave, if you can.
Okay, so this is something I learned from Craft World. Alex and Marco from Craft World, they always do a coloured tone base coat. I used to do zenithal black to white, and ever since I did a coloured base tone, I've just felt like my work has had more punch of colour, more interesting everything. It can leave a little bit of it poking through as like black lining, and it won't be quite black, and it just looks more pretty.
It's softer, isn't it?
It's softer. If you need to go black, you can paint black on.
Yeah.
It's still really dark, but even just looking at the model in this color, it already looks quite cool.
Yeah. And I mean, funnily enough for this, people might be thinking, is it got something to do with the color wheel or with contrast, the fact that gold or yellow sits across from purple? Maybe there's a little bit of that in there, but I think predominantly, as Dave's saying, it's really just what he feels comfortable with.
And I'll pick, I use purple a lot because I don't know, I like it, and it's the darkest color on the color wheel, and so everything goes up from there.
Yeah.
But it depends on what kind of ambience and environment that I'm going for, and purple has the highest range for me, so I use it more often, but it doesn't always have to be purple. You can have blue, green, and it really sets the scene for what you're going to end up using.
Yeah, so if you read or read the Fantasy Figures magazine that you do articles for at times, Dave, previously you did obviously an Ally with working from actually a range of undertones.
Yep.
So it doesn't always...
Just try anything.
Yeah, it's not always one colour. I think also you use a warm red at times as well for certain types of things too, from memory.
Yeah, if I want the scene to have more of a red ambience, I will.
So an example of that would be Catelyn, Dave's great sword that he painted late last year.
Yeah, it had a much more red base tone. Because I was planning to paint parts of that model red. I don't like painting red, so I could leave some parts of the shadows of those red parts without needing to be painted.
Okay, so I'm going to blaze through some of these questions now because I can answer them while Dave works. So first off, for Ghost Raven, is it water or is it thinner? It's actually thinner. Dave is incredibly fond. I'll just reach over here and put it in the camera shot. This is just a large bottle of Lami and medium that Dave's whipped together. He's really fond of this for his process. Again, obviously medium, the difference between using medium and water, if you don't know, medium's obviously going to keep the same level of consistency of the viscosity of the paint, whereas if we use water, it's going to thin it out and spread the pigments more, which makes it a little bit harder to wrangle at times. But again, it's just personal preference.
It is. Now I'm going to do a little bit of a smoke magic thing here.
Oh, get the smoke in.
We've got down just a little bit of a gradient. I hope you guys can see it. It's quite bright on the camera from my eyes, but I'm not sure how well you can see it in the whites. I'm just going to paint over the whole lot of that now.
Yeah, so this is like basically tinting the whole process, darkening it down. So while Dave does that, I'll move on to the next question. So we've got Minimancer is asking, is it a purple primer specifically, or is it just random purple paint? You airbrush your primer most of the time, don't you?
No, I prime first with Tamiya spray can primer, rattle can. I just do a dusting of that.
Yeah.
And then I spray on a black Vallejo surface primer on the airbrush, and then I just use regular colours for this. So the primer on this one is Elandil Violet from...
We'll again take a photo of it and put it in the chat.
It's in the photo already. And then it's just a zenithal prime. I don't have the paint here, but it's just a crimson red colour from the Nocturna Vallejo range.
Yeah. Just a quick one. When Dave said that he puts basically after his dusting of a primer, a spray can, rattle can, and then uses a Vallejo over the top of that. That's just because you really like the way it feels painting on top of that, correct?
Yeah, the Vallejo gives a smoother finish,
Yeah.
but to me, a rattle can primer is really durable. It just doesn't seem to come away, especially if you leave it dry for a few days.
Yeah.
It's very durable, so you can knock the model and the paint just doesn't seem to come away. It sticks. And doing a dusting, I think it leaves space between the microparticles of the paint, which ends up giving a little bit of teeth for the next layer of Vallejo surface primer to.
A bit of science for you there, chap. Bit of science. So you're using quite short strokes here now, Dave?
Yes. So I'm starting to get into the more refined phase. You can see the whole blend is travelling. So it's dark up here all the way down to light. And
yeah. And you've only done this so far with three tones, really, right?
I've used smoke, English uniform.
Oh, you've been through the English. Sorry, my bad. I missed that you went through English
Japanese,
uniform
and
Japanese.
I've mixed a bit of Japanese with sand. I've used ice yellow, and I haven't gone back to ivory yet, but I will.
You will.
We'll probably do that next. But it is looking. I can't see the screen well, but it is looking quite bright, so I might not
knock it down a bit.
Which colour did I pick up then? I might just redo that because I've lost my way. I'm gonna do Japanese.
So we've got a group of of master painters, master entrants, I should say, who have found a way over into the last pocket of space to try and observe as much as they possibly can from Dave. So that's always pardon. That's Liam. You all know Liam. He's been on plenty of times with us. I think we've got Ray as well, and Joe is here too. Does Dave use much airbrush after the base layer? That is a great question. He does not. No.
Not at all.
No.
I just I airbrush on varnishes at the end because I like to have a different finish.
Yeah.
On different parts of the model, so I'll start with an ultra matte.
That's a really nice angle there.
Yeah.
Kudro's got an advanced question here for you. He's got: are you painting small lines with an in-between tone between the main layers to affect your blend?
Yes.
Yes, he is. Yes.
And you slowly want to cut in back and forth between light and dark. It's like at the start you will have seen I take big steps, and then at the end we're starting to get smaller and smaller. Now I'm not going to refine this into a complete.
Well, we just don't have the time to do that today,
but we're more interested in getting you guys to learn the idea of the really tight transition on the other side, and this is, I think, almost at a point where it gives the ideas. So later on, like it's there's some ice yellow and sand yellow going together. I might, probably not on this model, but you can do some scratch lines.
The VOD absolutely will be uploaded later to YouTube because you're sleepy. Where are you right now, Ghost Raven? Let us know. Flash 1000. So hello to everyone from Thailand. Hope you have had a big night yesterday. We had a massive day yesterday and a wonderful night out. Great stuff. Hungry, awesome. Yeah, it was a lovely time. It's always a great time. It's just like we've said this a few times, and obviously we like to have a bit of a gush about community in Australia.
Love everyone. It's just so good here.
Yeah.
These are my folks.
Yeah, and I think you've said it a couple of times, but it's your favourite time of year, Crimson Brush weekend.
Favourite weekend. Nothing comes close. Although Guilds is pretty good now, and that's getting up there.
And Ark's on its way too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ark scratches a different itch, eh?
Well, yeah. Now that they're going to have a painting lounge, it's going to be much better because Arc was great, and I hope if anyone in Melbourne is watching, they'll be wanting to come along to Arc this year as well. I just felt like I would have liked something a bit more to do while we were waiting for the awards, I guess, which is what the Painting Lounge gives us.
Yeah.
And so that they've taken that feedback on board and doing it this year.
So a question here for you, Dave. How intentional are you with brushstroke direction? Do you maintain consistent brushstroke direction the whole time or focus more on it as the piece progresses? And that question's from the Real Quirky Cat.
Okay, so it depends on what kind of metal you're trying to achieve. So I don't know if you've seen my Soma Moonray piece from Nico Galaxy.
Your most recent one?
Most recent one, yeah. The wall has that brushed metal effect.
Yeah, psycho.
That is all the same direction painting right from the very start, because if you have different directions showing, it will just break the illusion. So you have to paint the strokes all in the same direction the whole time.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, I'm doing a much more textured effect here because it's easier to do quickly. I probably wouldn't choose to do that for this model, painting it in my own time, but this is just a demonstration. And
it's about choosing the right type of metal for the piece. And again, I think Dave emphasised this earlier, this is quite an obnoxious sort of elf that's looking down on you. So we would assume that gold is going to be quite glinted, it's going to be well maintained, it's really going to be sort of, a big part of who she is. It's got to be smooth.
It's going to be part of it. So now I'm going to, if you can see this blend here, it's quite gradual. It's bright here, and then you've got maybe a centimetre of space here. Mm-hmm. So you've gone from one colour to the darkest up here, and it doesn't to me read like metal. It's just a gradual yellow blend. Mm-hmm. Is that how you feel as well?
Yeah,
It's quite bright on the string.
Yeah, but it's very gradual. It's progressing through.
So now I'm going to move to the other side.
All right.
And this is where the important stuff will happen.
Yeah.
So first I'm going to paint over the whole of this yellow area here with Japanese uniform.
Just go through a little bit of what's in the chat while you put that in. So Nurgle, for such a large country, you have a great close-knit community over there. We absolutely do.
And it's great because everyone's trying to help everyone else, raise each other up, and everyone seems to really care about it, just improving the level overall in the entire country. It's just amazing.
So this one here from Miniman's is sort of directed at both of us, I think. Does a competition like this motivate you guys to get home and get back to painting?
Oh, yeah.
Or is it more of a crescendo and need some downtime after all the work leading to the competition? This is a great question. I'm going to let you bash through that, Dave, and
Look, I'm pretty motivated to work all the time. I think you should answer because when a lot of us paint the most and are the most motivated in the few weeks after these competitions. You come out of here just with ideas popping and...
Yeah. So to answer that question, Miniman, it depends on where you are placing an event in your calendar, right? Or in your painting calendar. So for some people, and for most people actually, it's going to be the finish line. And as such, there's going to be a lot of painting that happens all the way down to the deadline. So, Masters entrance this year, we're painting literally 2 hours before the event. Now, not everyone works that way, but some people do. So as you can imagine, I think those people come out of the event very motivated and excited, but usually have a bit of downtime after that just to relax and obviously live different parts of life. If you don't use the crimson brush as a finish line, then you can see a lot of people go away, in that instance, very motivated and start painting almost instantly. So it's a bit of everything. For me personally, I've sort of done it both ways. This year it's been less of a finish line for me, so I'll be pretty much hitting the ground running as soon as I get back to Melbourne and painting. But I had a nice large break before before the Crimson Brush, and only started painting again a couple of weeks before it anyway. So Death by Storm, who is a first-time chat, will we be covering all the entries into the Crimson Brush or just the master entrance? Could you give me a little bit more clarity on that one by coverage?
I'd like to answer that for you.
Yeah.
Death by Storm. Hello, everyone.
Oh, Big Deno's arrived.
The judging stream is currently not available anywhere. It was streamed last night, yesterday.
Live.
I will, when I get home, edit together those into more manageable streams, more manageable viewing, and we will have the standard category and the masters category available for viewing. Now, unfortunately, they split into two separate videos. Unfortunately, friends, we discussed this yesterday, it's not really possible for us to get every single entry on judging and discussed. We had a record number of entries this year, which we'll talk about in the presentation.
We will.
Yeah, as it was, we were streaming for 5 hours and 30 minutes on judging, and that was doing about, 50 to 60% of the models. So we just simply would not have time to do every entry. So,
awesome.
However, the judges are present and available all weekend to discuss their feelings about pieces.
Yeah, what I saw that was awesome is our judges obviously love judging because they set up a desk this morning and allowed people to come and get more feedback, so they clearly love doing it. Let's get back into some painting right now and some more questions. There's a few flying around in here. Cujo's asked, do you use glazes to fill in the texture lines at all, or are you locked into hash lines and only use glazes for introducing colour nuance?
A bit of both. It depends how smooth I want the metal to be, but I think my style was developed around the fact that I've always not enjoyed painting glazes, so I don't use a lot of them. I have been trying to learn them more recently because I want that tool in my toolbox, and so I have been using a bit to smooth them out more recently.
We're laughing because the wonderful Sanctuary Girl has joined us, and that's Benny's mum, and she's saying hi to everyone from Ben's mum. So,
okay.
Hi Ben's mum, we love you, and your son's the best. Another question about hot topic, the Lami and medium. Do you use Lami and medium straight, or do you dilute it with water, or do you dilute it with distilled water or something similar?
Okay, again, that depends on what I'm doing. I'm using it diluted today a little bit, but if I want a really smooth blend, I find that the Lami and medium helps to really smooth the paint when you thin it down a bit. Sometimes when you leave it on the palette for a long time, it gets so thin from just absorbing the water through the palette. But sometimes I've got a pipette here, but it's around somewhere. But I don't have a pure pot of Lami in here. It's just that when I filled up this bottle, I only had enough Lami and medium pots at home to fill it to about 2/3. So I filled the rest of the bottle a bit.
Yeah. So again. Sometimes these sort of choices are just choices of necessity. You want more of it, so you put more in. You try to make it work.
But
you work with your resources.
It still works. It still works when it's watered down a little bit.
Yeah.
But not as well.
Yeah. So we were gabbing on a little bit about with some of these questions, Trent and I. Is there anything you wanted to explain that's been different so far in this process on this side?
Okay. So if you look up here,
yep.
I've already added a little bit of a top reflection just to give a secondary light, because metals always reflect more than one light from the environment. Mm-hmm. So just having that there, I might develop that further later. This highlight here, it might go brighter, and I may end up just bringing the brightness in the middle of it here a little bit. We'll see how that goes. But if you look at the difference, I'm still quite early on in this.
Yeah.
But if you just look at the difference when you look at that,
it's a massive difference.
This
right?
looks like metal already.
Yeah.
This doesn't.
No.
I'm still really early on in this.
The right side still looks like a reflective surface of some description, but it doesn't look like metal.
Yeah, it's too broad, and this might be really rough textured metal because that still can happen. Like, you know, the highlight will get more broad the more rough the metal is. But this side is a lot shinier, and the transition just goes from very bright to the yellow to dark tones almost instantly. And the tough thing about blending non-metallic metal, and this is where it gets really challenging, is all of this is about is, so I've used a centimetre to do this blend over here. I need to be able to do this whole blend from the top colour to the bottom in what amounts to a millimetre or two over here. So you've got to condense a centimetre into a millimetre or two. And that is not easy.
That is where the challenge lies.
That is where the challenge lies, but it can really help make the effect of non-metallics punchy.
Everblight82 says, Dave, what's your plan if GW ever change or discontinue Lami and medium from Lee Winky Face? So I'm assuming you know Lee.
If it's Lee Agnew,
yeah,
I'll go around and buy all the stock I can find.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you haven't seen the Lamian room. Welcome to my Lamian medium room. I'm sure if Dave couldn't get Lamian medium, he would find something new and learn to use it. And that's a big part of it, right?
Yeah. If it happens, it happens, but I'd prefer not to happen. Like, I have tried a lot of other mediums. I've got bottles and bottles of stuff I've tried because I'd like to be able to buy more at once.
You are, though, like, in your process, when you find something, you're quite particular about what you find and you stick with it, right?
Yeah. If it works for me, I do. But I don't always... I don't always do that. Like, I do sometimes like to try different things. Like, I got the new inks from Scale with their recent Kickstarter.
And you've been enjoying
I don't usually use inks because I don't like them, but I wanted to try them because, you know, I had them. I bought the box set to get all of the Scale Artist tubes, and the inks came. The inks are magic. They're really amazing paints. They're not useful for everything, but they're the most powerful, solid, coverage, full colours that I've ever experienced.
So I think we're right there. We'll probably wrap up on talking about Lami and medium because we've been talking about it for a fair while. So let's move on to some other things. One thing that's interesting is sort of what you've got there to clean your brushes off. Dave, rather than like paper, is a bit of a towel man. You got a towel down there.
Yep, microfiber cloth.
Microfiber cloth.
I don't know if you've ever been painting and you're constantly pulling out those little paper fibres from the tip of your brush.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Can't stand it. So I use the microfiber cloth because it doesn't release the paper fibres into the brush, and it makes the brush last longer.
Very interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that. You, TD?
No, that is a great tip from the young Dave Colwell there, and I strongly recommend everyone give that a crack.
Microfiber cloth sales go through the roof.
It does soak up a lot more of the paint than a paper towel, and so it takes a little while to get used to.
Nice. So, there's no two ways around it. Non-metal metallic is obviously just one of the more technical methods in painting.
It is.
People might be wondering, are you sort of like this procedural across the whole miniature?
No, definitely not. Non-metallics require a lot of thought because of what they are, but skin is quite, in the sense, is quite diffuse. And therefore, you need to really put a lot of colour into it. You need to put a lot of colour into different zones. So I'm a lot more chaotic and jump back and forth in a much more chaotic way until I'm refining at the end.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes I'll put like a layer down of just big blob of red on the cheeks so that there's some red showing through at the end eventually.
I can I can attest to this.
Hair is different again as
Again,
well.
yeah, I can attest to this. We sat with each other when Natalia Orich came out and taught, and the speed in which you structured a face was something that really caught me off guard, as I'd always thought that potentially your process was quite procedural the whole way through. But when I saw you painting skin and just changing it up, I was like, this is awesome to see. So super cool.
I think there might be a misconception about the way I paint, because I end up with a fairly clean finish, but I'm really quite chaotic about things.
Yeah.
I jump around. Like, often if I've got a paint colour on my brush, I'm a bit of a miser. I don't like to waste.
Yeah.
So if I've got some paint left on my brush, I'll go to somewhere else where I think that colour will be useful. I'll just put it
Just
down
dump it
there.
off. Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
This is maybe a little no, for this side of it, it's for this side.
I mean, you can see the difference, right? It's quite drastic. If you can give us like just a top-down view, right there. I mean, you can.
Light.
Yeah, the light.
No, it's not gonna.
Yeah.
I'll try and show both sides.
Yeah. There we go. I'm sure everyone who's tuning in can see there's a fairly distinct difference.
And I'm sure you might have answered this already, Dave, but
I haven't finished down here yet. I'll brighten this a bit, and I even think I might put another highlight down here.
Dave, so I noticed that the shape of the highlight for that cylinder is quite a smooth line, but when you have a cylinder that is not necessarily exactly even, you have like a cylinder that's wider at one end, you change the shape of the highlight, is that right?
Yeah, so it is wider up here, but I'll actually be doing the opposite on this one. I'm going to make it wider down here. So it's something that I'd cut into up here and make it more like a point in the end.
Yeah. And you've, I'm sure, discussed that already, so
I don't
just smooth it in for some tips here. I think
just trying to learn myself.
Just trying to learn. We're all just trying to learn here with Dave. I think it's the fact that is there's a collar in place of like where this light is coming in from. So there will naturally be less light on the opposite, like directly on the opposite side of that collar than further away.
But as I said at the start of this class, that this is not so much about placement of lights. Mm-hmm. It's more about that gradient.
Yeah.
You want to get that really sharp gradient, and you can do it in a more. It's not the way I paint, so I don't think I should explain it. But you can do it in a much more quick way, like just doing lines, big fat lines all at once, and then again.
Yeah, and then work it down. Yeah. There is, in fact, a million ways to skin a cat.
Yep, so at the moment I'm just adding another little highlight at the front here because I think it would be the right thing to do. And then
I think even in this instance, if it's not the right thing to do, sometimes you have to do something, figure out it's not, and then do the opposite thing, right?
Yeah,
it's a big part of the process.
It might not end up working, but it's not a big area, so I can repaint it fairly quickly and easily.
Yeah, I think, is it just any microfiber towel? Knowing David's probably the specific microfiber towel he likes, but I'm sure any microfiber towel can do the job.
And he's fine. I usually get them from Aldi. Or if they're not available at Aldi, sometimes eBay or Amazon, like Mr. Seeger.
Yeah. Is the room's starting to fill up around us, as you can imagine. Can we just get a confirmation from the stream? How are we looking? Is there a bit of background noise, or are we quiet? Just us at the moment. All good? Excellent. Awesome. We'll tell them to be quiet anyway. I don't think it'll work. They're having a good time.
So the way I'm painting at the moment is something I learned from Mark Masklins.
Yep.
See this scribble back and forth.
Tornadoes?
Yeah, so you know when you leave a stroke there's a dot at the end?
Yeah. It removes the dot, right?
Yeah, it removes the dot, and it's a good way to to blend without full-on glazing.
Yeah, and I think
I'm going to chip into this.
maybe something that's not talked about, and it might not be relevant, it might be, but what sort of pressure are you using with the brush here? Like
very little.
Very little, very gentle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to. The paint will come out.
Yeah.
I've never even really considered using different pressure levels. I don't know whether I do use lots of pressure.
Just have a very feathery touch, I guess.
I do, yeah.
Does Dave have a favourite type of model to paint? Bust, 75mm or small scale? This is a great question for you, Dave.
I love them all.
Take the process though. What is your process here? You have one.
I do. I go small, 75 or 54 bust.
Yeah.
And
Rotates.
I rotate between them.
Yeah.
I think it's good to learn a skill set for each because it is a different skill set, and each time you learn things for each one, it gives you something to learn for the next one.
Cujo's asking, sorry, how do you remove the dot at the end of with a tornado pattern that pulls backwards? Yes.
So at the end, it's still going to be there, but instead of having 30 dots by doing 30 lines like this.
Yeah, you get one, or there's just one in the end, isn't it? If you do it as a motion.
Exactly, yeah. So instead of having 30 lines, just going back and forth, and then there's just one dot at the end where you lift the brush off.
Yeah.
So controlling that dot is very important in painting. Like stippling is just placing the dot, and then I don't know whether I just call it scribbling.
Yeah, scribbling or
tornado.
Tiny tornadoes or Either way, it's basically like it's actually that Dave's never taking the brush off, creating multiple surface tensions, right? Like breaking the surface tension. It's just breaking it once rather than breaking it several times over.
So I'm just going to try something now with this bright orange and see how it looks.
Sure. And the result of that is that it just gives you a cleaner finish. Correct?
It's just an easier way to blend quickly.
Sure.
That's way too bright.
Yep.
But maybe not. It might dry a little bit less.
Could you deploy some smoke in this instance if you needed to?
Indeed.
Yeah.
So when it's dried, I might cut into that with smoke. So I'm finding like I want more. See how the yellow is much more bright at the top up here.
Absolutely.
I want more down here.
Yep.
So I'm going to try and do that. I think that will be Japanese uniform. Mm-hmm. But we don't always know what the paint's going to do, but I'm going to paint over the whole lot.
Be brave. A term that's used a lot in miniature painting.
Yeah, you've got to.
Yeah.
Got to get past those worries.
You
and
do
paint with confidence.
But one thing that is true is that painting brave, often you get braver by
making mistakes.
But making mistakes can be daunting for people. So,
but everything can be painted over. It's just about how much time you're worried about losing. Honestly, time is very, very valuable.
Paint without fear or paint brave. They're sort of buzzwords that are used in miniature painting. But there's more to that. If you don't know, like Dave has done this enough that he understands how to fix the problem, so he can paint confidently. If you don't understand how to fix those problems, and you land in a realm of chaos and feel like you've not achieved what you were trying to and don't know how to get out from that space, it can be quite deflating. So there is a little bit of finesse in how far out you go, but the only way to get better is to practice.
And then I just see the words happy accidents there, and sometimes the happy accidents can end up being the best looking stuff on the model.
This is very true. Yeah.
But sometimes you can't create it.
They're like little tangents,
Textures,
right? They're like little moments that you sort of have to make a decision, and they can shoot off down a direction you weren't necessarily planning, but really benefit what you're doing. So. Yeah.
So now we're going straight up to ivory.
It's not mistakes; it's data gained from experiments. Yeah. Will, I love you, Will. My boy.
So we're getting more into a refining phase.
Yeah.
I would ask anyone who's watching the stream, do you understand what I'm trying to portray, or can I explain anything?
Yeah, please ask
the
for
way
clarity.
In the way that I'm trying to show you the transition importance, and how quickly you're going from one colour to the next. Is that something that you've understood about non-metallic before? Because it's something that took me a very long time, and I don't know, only in recent years, and I've been painting non-metallics for quite a few years now.
Yes.
Only in recent years has it really clicked to me how just important this is.
So something I want to ask of you, because often people see this Dave Colwell. You know, not everyone. People come to this all at different times and from different places, right? What are some of the challenges like you faced in your journey painting non-metal metallics? Where are some of the things that you felt you really had to work hard on? Because you weren't really happy with your non-metal about 18 months to 2 years ago and decided to have a very, very deep dive in it.
Yeah, I didn't. This.
Yeah.
It's all about this. I kept on painting my metals because I'd learned to do gradients like this. I'd never, for some reason, it had never gotten into my head that part of mini painting is just so important about choosing how sharp or gradual your blend gradient is. And when you start using different blend gradients on different materials, you can start to give the impression of different materials much more completely. And so by learning those things on my deep dive into non-metallic metal, I learned a lot more about how to make other materials pop better.
Absolutely.
And so I don't know why, but some people just seem to grasp what to do to make contrast, and it just never made sense to me how they could make it. Like, I would look at it and I'd say, well, I feel like I'm doing the same thing, but I just couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong until I just painted non-metallic a lot, and then you finally figure out, oh, look. So if you look at this here, there's not a lot of colour. The colour is only in this little bit around the highlight.
Yeah.
It's quite white and then brown and dark. And so all the metal needs is just a little bit of colour on the very edge.
Yeah.
And it needs to be quite a small zone of it. And you can get away with doing a lot with that, especially with steel, but steel is a whole other subject. The steel or white metals are a lot more complex, and it might be a good time for us to start discussing why that is.
Yeah, sure. Shall we? Well, first off, a very direct question, Dave. Do you find gold to be easier to achieve than steel?
Definitely.
Okay.
I do.
You do.
I find gold much easier.
Why?
It's not easier, but I find it easier because I've painted more gold.
So
and
practice
for the
and
longest
experience.
for the longest time, I could get away with just painting gold with yellows and making it look good because it's just yellow paints, and I wasn't thinking about reflections so much and thinking about the environment, and it worked well enough because I got lucky, I guess. But when you're thinking about steel, if you paint with just black and white, it just looks grey. And for the longest time, when I wasn't achieving contrast, I wasn't able to do enough with it. It looked grey, but steel is more fun for me to paint because you can put almost any colour into it that you want. Like it doesn't really have a colour, although it does. I think of it like this: dark metal is black metal, steel is grey metal, and silver is white metal. But then white metal that is very polished doesn't actually have any colour, so the colour and everything that you paint in it comes from the environment. And because of that, you can do so much to tell your story by choosing what colours to put into the metal.
So a lot of questions are coming through about sort of other parts of Dave's process in painting and some of the ways he tackles things. We're going to keep the topic focused on the non-metal today because we don't want to get sidetracked and sort of muddy the waters on what we're trying to get across here. If there is more that you want to learn from Dave,
You can message me.
You can message Dave. He does his best to answer everyone.
I do answer everyone.
He does answer everyone. So that is pretty. I can attest to that. He definitely does. Also, if you're in Australia, we've been talking about some things for a potential future.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. We're using today as a bit of an experiment. Watch this space line comes out there.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of information that Dave's got to give to the broader painting community and a lot of experience he'd like to pass on. So
something I want to point out at the moment, what I'm doing is it's important to think about which direction you drag your brush. So I started here by dragging the paint up into the highlight. I realised that I was going the wrong way, so I changed and started dragging from bright to dark because the tone that I'd had was in between English uniform and Japanese uniform.
Yep.
So it was a little bit dark and it was changing it too much.
Yeah.
And so it was better for me to drag it the other way.
It's really starting to look shiny now. It is, and that's really what Dave was talking about. Having just that little bit of colour on either side of that really sort of like quite powerful highlight is what's doing that.
And then the great thing about doing this is I haven't used a lot of space
No, you haven't.
on the shoulder for this. So I've got all the rest of this space to do secondary highlights, and I truly and hopefully recommend to people, do whatever you think. Any shapes will be fine to do here.
Yeah.
You can basically make stuff up.
Yeah.
And that will be what defines your style in non-metallic metal. Mm-hmm. And there's limitless possibilities, and it's why I love it so much.
Yeah. And a good one to always remember is once we get over that shoulder ridge there and we get to the back of the model, it's a completely different viewing angle, which opens up tons of different opportunities to play around with.
You can do a secondary highlight, or I might do a similar shape back here, which is pointing up to the head, so that when someone turns the model around, it becomes an arrow that points up to the head.
Yeah.
And then I'll get them to follow that up, look at the head, and then drag them back to the front so that they'll want to turn the model back to the front, because I always want to get them going back to the face.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on bus, it can never be stated enough how important the face is. And here's something I really do want to talk about with non-metal metallic. Non-metal metallic has a habit of stealing the show at times.
It does. And because you have to paint so much contrast, it automatically wants to steal the show. And I don't know whether I've mastered this yet, but it's something that I'm constantly thinking about, constantly working on, is trying to find ways to balance it. Mm-hmm. Put the metal on a slightly off angle for the main view with the face, so that when you turn the model, the metal becomes the focus, but when you're looking at it straight on, the face is the focus.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the end, this is a person in a world.
This is really, really complex stuff, but you just got to experiment and play with things and find out what works for you.
Yeah.
But even this here, I think of this as like an arrow that points to her face.
Yes.
And then if I do a similar looking thing on the other side, it will start to balance it, and if I do have a similar thing on the crown, it will balance again. So you've got a triangle around the face of bright areas.
The beloved triangle. We've had many discussions together about the triangle, haven't we?
and then you've got this rim here that surrounds the face, and then I'm already thinking about painting this area dark. It's got to be dark because you need that contrast, and then pale or white face. I'm not sure what colour hair I'd use yet, but if you can surround the face and then find ways to bring interest to the face while still having these big contrast areas here, you've got to think about how to balance those things, because it is important.
Yes.
Because the face can get lost and overwhelmed by the metal, and sometimes you have to even let, like, down here, you might need to use a bit less contrast and let that area suffer in that it doesn't look as good as that area as you could paint it.
Yeah.
Because it's not important to the model.
No.
So it's a peripheral thing.
Yeah.
So just
working out
give it
what
so much
a value of importance is important in the process. Just quickly, like we did go pretty technical there. When we talk about triangles, really what we're actually talking about is just using a shape to frame what you want people to look at. You can use triangles is the most simple one. One of the most complex ones is using circles, and you can use circles in lots of different ways. But we're not going to delve too much into that. We have got approximately 45 minutes left for this presentation. So is that feeling good for you time-wise, Dave?
Well, yeah, like I can just keep refining, but
yeah,
I mean, that's just refining.
Yeah.
I don't know if people would like me to keep refining so that they can see how we get to a more finished look.
Yeah.
But it's just the same. It's just the same work that I've been doing already.
Yeah. All right, so let's get some of these bigger questions. So I have noticed with a lot of your work, you really slam in the highlights first. Do you do that across the whole model normally, or do you go piece by piece? So in your mapping phase,
the whole model.
He does the whole model, yeah. Like block in NMM, paint it, then do skin, or is it more that you do all the highlights? Okay, so there's a little bit more to it. So, do you want to talk a little bit about the creeping vine approach?
So for a while there, I was when I was stippling a lot, I was just painting little bit of the model and just slowly like putting the colour where I wanted it to be right from the start, and I'd slowly make it grow out from there, and just like finish a small part by small part. And I don't really recommend that. It's a very technical way and a very risky way of painting because you don't know how it's going to turn out.
It can be quite laborious for the risk, right?
Yeah, and I did the class with Natalia last year, and she really wanted me to try out sketching. And now I haven't ended up taking up sketching in the same way that she does, but I have started sketching out the highlights across the whole model so I can start to feel the structure of things. And then I will paint everything on the model to a certain level, but not to completion. And then I'll do the refining stage and unification at the very end. So it's a way of sketching, not in the same sense that Natalia does, because she's pretty wild with her sketching.
Natalia approaches.
I'm a bit more of a I don't know what the word I'm trying to think.
So
of
I think rather than defining what you are, like Natalia really like approaches it with almost like a 2D perspective, right? She's really like just exploring, and I want to use that word more, right? Exploring. When Dave's mapping with the white, what he's actually doing is just exploring the model. He's figuring out where he wants light to be.
It's very easy to change the highlight positions early on like that, because I can see that maybe some of these highlights up here are too big or too small, and when I come to put colour over them, I can change them very quickly and easily at that point.
Yeah. All right, Havoc Pigeon's got a good one for us. A question for both of us. You mentioned thinking about the environment the model is in when painting non-metal metallic. Would you, not just when painting non-metal metallic, when painting everything on the model, would you always choose to have a natural light, or have you experimented with colour lights, say like cyberpunk settings? Dave has experimented tons with cyberpunk settings. You've got heaps. If you go back through Dave's Instagram, you can see a whole host of Nico Galaxy box arts that you've done that have elements to that.
Yeah. And actually, I've spent a year doing a lot of universal light and sort of coloured ambience within universal light. But the next year, I feel like I'm going into a sunset period.
Yeah.
I'm going to try all different types of sunsets at different times of sunset. So like high sunset, right down to like the sun is below the horizon and just making full-on red clouds.
So we expect to see a lot of warmth in your painting in the future?
No? Because sunsets have a cold side, so there'll be both to it.
There'll be both.
And I want to try doing storytelling with sunsets. So the next piece I think I paint will be, I'll have some light coming from behind. There's kind of like some evil green undead light, and then the sun is just peeking up, and it suits the model. And so it's like they've been fighting all night, they've got a broken sword, the light is coming up, and you know, things are grim, but then because the sun is coming up, there's some hope on the horizon.
Cool. Well thought out, as always, my friend.
And I want to use the sunset for that kind of storytelling alongside other things, because light is just another part.
So something we can really touch on just quickly for that question. If you rotate to the back on this side here, if Dave was introducing a secondary light source, let's say like an ambient, pink glow, how would you be approaching that with the metal? Would you be painting in those pink tones or tinting them?
Yes. So I would go straight to the pink tones.
Yeah.
And depending on how bright the light is, you mix in the colours of
your initial.
Yeah. So usually when you want to tint coloured light colours, you don't use the colours that you've used to paint the metal with.
Yeah.
You just use straight yellow.
Yeah.
So if this was going to be pink, I would mix a brighter yellow in with the pink tones that I was using, rather than using the paints that I'm using here.
Sure.
Although Japanese uniform is
still suitable.
It does desaturate. It looks brighter than it probably is. It's quite green.
Yeah. The real quirky cat, Dave definitely does like to make an appearance at the Melbourne Figure Painters Collective when he can, and that is a great chance to have a chat to Dave. Dave is really, honestly, incredibly generous with his time. It is very important, I think, to Dave to share his knowledge and help people. I think that's been all the way through your painting journey.
Yeah, I said this morning in the car, I could be sitting there spending my off time in the morning, looking at YouTube, wasting time really, just relaxing. But I would much rather spend my time chatting to people about miniature painting than doing that.
Yeah.
So it's never, ever, ever annoying to message me or ask questions. I'm more than happy to talk about it. I love it so much that I'll talk to anyone about it.
Yeah. So what I want to see you all doing now when you're doing your Instagram posts, let's...
No. It's not mine to claim.
I'm stirring him up. Got to keep him on his toes. You said the transitions are quick to get a good non-metallic effect. Is the size and proportions of the highlight and shadow vital, or does that depend on the type of metal? I feel like I have a habit of making my brightest light too big. Hope that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. So, because of the way I want to paint this scene, and I want her to be moody, and the face, I will almost... I don't know if you can see the way the light is on the face from this angle. Because she's looking down her nose, I want to make her look really arrogant. So I've made the lights quite low and small here, but there would be nothing wrong. I'm not going to do it but there would be nothing wrong with taking this highlight quite large right up to here. It might even be something that I would consider doing if I was painting this model differently. And then the highlight would be quite large up to here. Then you've got to do the same quick transition from light to dark up here, and then you have a small dark section and another highlight like this.
Yeah.
So you end up having much less of a dark zone, and it brightens the whole piece. So it gives a much more bright atmosphere to the thing. So there's nothing wrong with having big highlights.
Yeah.
But you can also brighten it, which I would probably do by making this secondary one bigger, or even add another one. So I hadn't thought about this yet, but what if we just go like this?
Yeah. So again, reacting to the piece, just things are popping into your head as you go. Let's try this out.
And this is what's so good about non-metallic metal, because you can just do these things with the spare space that you've got.
Yeah. Pushing another.
And so I'd end up blending this out, but you can already see
more interest.
Yeah. And it'll end up being a different tone to this one, because I might think that this is a reflection from here. So say I ended up painting this pink, I might make this a little bit of a pink tone, and it's more pink the closer it gets to here. And it could also be thought of as it's this light reflecting up to here and then back down again.
Yeah. Hey, we've almost figured out a way, because the room's moving so much, the camera's moving quite a lot. If you can scooch just a little bit towards me, we can probably get you in the camera a little bit more, because I'm sure you all love my lovely face, or don't, but this is about you, and you should be at the centre of this, my friend. So
my voice is. I'm happy to have my voice in things. So.
No problem, Nerg.
I'm going to go over this with smoke next.
Yeah.
The wonder of smoke, because I probably don't need to blend it that much.
So smoke is a really interesting tool in miniature painting. It can be utilised for so many things. It's an incredible, it's an incredible paint, really.
A couple of years ago, I gave Andy some advice.
Last year.
Just do a layer of smoke over this thing that doesn't look quite right, and it just needed one layer, and it did everything.
Yeah. So that piece was a Rahel piece from Hera that was painted for the Crimson Brush.
Yep.
And it still managed to get itself into the gold medal bracket, but it had a fairly keen flaw on one side panel of the gold that I thought was probably far enough away and not important enough.
Everything's kind of important if it's near the face, and
it's
close enough.
And Natalia decided that was a talking point, and so Dave on stream sort of said, I think literally a singular coat of smoke. What smoke? A paint color? It's this here. I'm just going to bring it up if I can. It's VMC smoke right there. It's quite
It is an incredibly good paint. It's very transparent, so it doesn't have a lot of coverage, but the color it has is perfect for gold.
Yeah, it's often many paints can be substituted in for themselves, but there are some that particularly stand out.
Yeah,
smoke is one
really
of them.
Have one that does.
Yeah, there's
has
not
an alternative.
If you predominantly use a brand and you're looking for something that might be in that brand, I would suggest with this particular color doing your best to get actual smoke, because it's really quite solid. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that have found alternatives, but in my experience, and I think in Dave's experience as well, this one has some quite unique properties that are really valuable to this particular exercise.
There's a lot of dust in the air here.
There is a lot of dust in the air now. So would you eventually get to pure white in the main highlight?
No, not for gold.
Not for
never,
gold.
Never.
Yeah.
Well, so okay, let me take that back.
Yeah.
It's not never. I'll do it.
There never is a never, is there?
Yeah, there never is a never. I'm going to get out some white ink here.
Yeah.
So if you're going to use white, pure white,
because I want to see what it looks like with you standing there, and if I need
it would be a tiny little bit, just a tiny bit here, or in edge highlights on sharp edges here.
And that will be reactionary to what the metal looks like, right? If you feel it
For
needs
me,
it,
yes,
yeah.
but some painters do these little spots.
Yeah, the little
But
ping.
I don't personally use those, but that's another part of what I love about non-metallic metal is that you can really do anything.
Yeah. So just talking on paint brands, sometimes I think, and do you find this, people get caught up a lot on paint brands and what to use, what should I get, what should I buy, how do when you're following guides or a workshop like this in particular, it's really like, I have to do this the exact way the person taught me. That's not the case. You can obviously follow very carefully with Dave, but we definitely encourage you to try and find some colours for you to play around with yourself. And Dave out here right now, he's got VMC colours, he's got AK colours, we've got fantasy gaming colours, we've got scale artist colours, we've got Citadel colours in there. Like everything is here and present in the process.
I'm a bit of a nutter. I have a lot of paints.
It's less about the range and more about
the specific paint,
specific properties of the colour, the saturation, the intensity, the finish.
Because a colour is a colour.
Yeah.
But the different paint brands have different finishes, and
This
that's.
is, so we're giving both ends of the spectrum because we've talked very specifically about the
I'm using the
importance of a
scale
colour like
artist,
smoke.
like I said at
But
the
is
beginning
the
of
importance
now.
of smoke partly because of its translucency and its satin finish?
Yes.
Yep. So it's
Partly,
the
yeah.
colour
The
itself
translucency
is less important.
No, the colour's
The colour
super
is
important.
Sure,
important.
but the translucency and the finish is also a key part of
absolutely. Yeah,
because you
absolutely.
could just take a normal brown and you wouldn't get the same result.
No,
Yeah.
this is the point with smoke. Is
Yeah.
it's one of those
Smoke has a-
unicorn colours that
Yeah.
does sort of all the things you need it to do. So,
Plank.
quite like for you. You have
Volupus pink
Volupus pink,
contrast
Groove Charger Grey. You love for
Non-metallic metal.
Non-metallic metal. So.
But I also like peanut butter for skin.
Yeah, you do.
It's
So-
also scale colour.
Yeah, and I mean everyone finds their own colours that they that's a part of the journey and
I
part of your
find this
painting
one,
identity.
Sons
so-
of Horus Green is a very key component to my non-metallic steel these days. This is wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
And Strachan Green and Skarsnik Green
12:30.
are also great for highlighting into
Okay.
steel, but it's another
Alright.
complex subject.
Easy done.
This one is another great paint to have as well. Game color verdigris.
Yeah.
All the other verdigris just aren't as bright as this.
Yeah. So there's some of Dave's top picks that he likes. And peanut butter is nice, great substitute for the old snakebite leather, 100% cooch. We're only going to go for another 15 minutes. So what we might do now is we might have Dave paint for 5 more minutes. I mean, at this point now, what Dave's doing is just a bit of refining and adding some colour in.
Yep.
What we'll do, we'll wrap up the painting in 5 minutes, and then maybe Dave and I will just sit and do you want to answer a few questions maybe about other parts of painting, if that's okay?
Sure.
Awesome, let's do that. Because there was some questions back there. We can find the time to maybe help out with some of that stuff.
Quite surprised how quickly that blend went, really. An hour
there you
and a
go.
half, and you've got a fairly nice looking
Yeah, I think we
shiny
got a
non-metallic there. Like,
yeah.
bang.
Time to add a happy little tree in. Yeah,
Paint some happy little clouds.
yeah.
I don't know if you can see the colour in the stream. I can't see the screen. It just looks like there's just a bright mark there. So
Do you each have favourite materials to paint? Skin, cloth, metals?
skin.
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 Skin. Why though?
It's the hardest,
It's the hardest. It is.
but it's also the most expressive, most fun, most subtle.
yeah.
Because when you get it wrong, you know.
You know. Well, hey.
When you get it right, geez, it feels good.
Hey, you know what though? It's relevant to certain things, right? So when you're painting a bust, you're painting a person, or an alien or whatever, but skin is like where you're forced to look. Sometimes when you're painting 75 millimeters, let's use Soma for example. Soma has a very small amount of skin on it, right?
Yeah.
So it really does depend at times on what flavour you're going for, but I think overall, resoundingly, skin is the most exciting and has wonderful amounts of nuance you can put in it. So, Tartan from Cujo, madman. Hey, Cuj.
Hey, Cooge, don't make it sad. Take a small model and paint some tartan.
Edit. That's going in the next Cuj video.
And
Content
just something
for free,
I-
Cooge.
Just something I'll point out.
Yeah, please do.
So I find this to be a bit flat of a colour, so I may,
You pulled the purple out.
so you can just put a little bit of purple in a few places. It doesn't change to purple. It doesn't make the model.
And purple is being used
Purple.
now because of the contrast, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it also overlays with yellow to turn into red.
Exactly, because purple and yellow are complementary colours.
Iron Ant asked a few years
And it
ago.
just adds a bit more contrast.
David submitted a bust that Deno considered the smoothest models ever. Do you know what it was that you did that gave that impression, or was it just long? It was that was Cormac, I'm pretty sure, wasn't it?
It was Cormac, yeah.
I think Dave's level of smooth has probably
Increased.
increased since then. But also, I actually want to break this a little bit. Dave gets a mantra, gets a bit of a stigma that everything is smooth and that's what he does.
I
It's
don't
actually
paint
not.
that smooth. It's just baked.
It's just, yeah. He uses a lot of texture and things and does a lot
It's just micro.
Yeah, it's just micro levels, so. Oh, Cujo getting a new ringtone right now, indeed. Nurgle's got to hit the sack, getting late in the UK. Will this be up on the YouTube video? It sure will. It'll be at Trent Dennison at YouTube. Big Deno Paints on YouTube.
But as we said a little earlier in the stream, that will not be for a few days. Yes. I will have to edit those streams down into manageable, viewable segments. And once we have those, I will upload those to YouTube. However, most of us, I think the three of us included, will be taking a well-earned break when we get back from this event.
I'm going home to paint.
Well, I'm also going home to paint because I have a crazy project that I need to finish.
Yes.
But I will not be responding to comments or feedback.
I think what we're saying there is we're going to go and do something that we want to do.
Correct.
With our own time.
I reply to
Not that we
comments
don't
in the
want to do
morning,
this.
so even if anyone who is here at the competition wants feedback for judging, I'll reply to those messages.
Thank you, Mini Manson, for the link. That is a much more efficient way to get the gavel out of our mouth on that one. Dave's the morning guy. So if you send him a message and you don't get something back, don't freak out. It's just probably coming on Australian time. We're obviously a long way away in a different time zone, and that has an impact.
Whoops. So, does anyone have any more questions? I hope that was valuable. I've tried my best to think about the best way I can give more information to the community for non-metallic metal, because there's a lot of stuff about the light placements out there.
Yeah.
I felt like this is an important thing for people to learn. It took me a long time to grasp this.
Ivan Hordal, who is painting? That is David Colwell.
Hello, Ivan.
Hello, Ivan.
Ivan. Yeah.
Great man, Ivan.
He is.
Great teacher.
Great
painter.
Hey, buddy. Yes, so I'll just take over from Andy for a second. Friends, hopefully all those who are watching have enjoyed this. This was our first attempt at some painting on stream. We will be sending out a feedback survey through my socials, through Oz Painters, and we'll be looking for feedback on what you felt this entire experience was like. If you enjoyed it, what more you'd like to see. There's a strong possibility that we will have a little bit more space and a little bit more capacity next year to run the stream even more professionally and effectively than we have done this year. So
we are always thinking about how we can get better, how we can give more. So
constant vigilance.
Yeah. So please, I know it might take a little bit of time out of your day, but if you
Timbo,
can give us
if
a
you
bit
don't
of feedback,
start shutting up about that second room, mate, I'm going to bash you.
Yeah.
I swear.
Yeah.
Now, everyone, thank
Did
Dave
we get through
Colwell.
all the questions?
No. We've still got 10 minutes, so we gave the
Question time with Dave.
Question time with Dave. So
were they up higher in the thing?
No. There was. We actually went back and covered one. So now, if you've got something, you've got 10 minutes. Throw it in and let's see what we can do. Speed round. It doesn't just have to be specifically about a technique. If you want to learn a little bit more about Dave, like what he loves about the hobby or the art or anything, you just let us know.
And Andy as well. Andy's here too.
You can ask me if you want, but I am the straw that stirs the drink around here. That is all I am. These guys are the ones that you want to be getting in about.
So I was painting like this just now, and I never paint like that.
How do you normally paint?
I paint like this.
Yeah.
I sit right back and lean back.
I'll got
bring it
one
up in
for you,
front.
Dave.
I don't get it.
Wait.
That's all right.
Wait, no. I got one for you, Dave. What sort of chair do you use when you're painting?
It's at the moment. I was having problem with my back.
Yeah, you were.
And it was causing pain down my legs. So I'm actually using it like a big theatre room armchair at the moment.
He's got he
so
sits
good.
he literally sits in a theatre room armchair throne with pillows and I'm sure like little blankets around and everything, and he just tears it up. So Dark Solstice, how do you determine how big to make highlights in non-metal metallic? This is a great question. Or
So
otherwise.
this depends on how bright I want the scene to feel. Because of this one, I didn't want it to be super, super bright, so I didn't make the highlight super large. On this side, I did make it larger, but if you want to make it a brighter scene, you want to put more of the area of the non-metallic up on the higher values. So if you think of black at 0 and white at 10 on a number scale, 5 up to 10 is the brighter colours, and then 5 down to 0 is the darker colours. If you put less of the space of the metals in the lower range of those numbers, it will lift the brightness of the whole piece, but then you need to paint everything else to consider that as well. But sometimes you want to do a really big, large highlight just to get the contrast
bold,
in the right
right?
place, to offset something else that's been contrasting, or you might have some really saturated
If we give an
a bit low down.
example of that, one that I can think of off the top of my head, so we'll talk about someone else who's here, Will Brightly or Will Paints, painted a wonderful Viking bust, right? Like a Valkyrie bust. Had a huge axe face on, if you remember, and it has a very, very large, like almost white highlight across the whole thing, right? So that's
the
a really
axe face?
Yeah. So it's all the axe
blade.
edge, the blade, right?
Yeah.
Which is a perfect example of having. And please go have a look at this because it's an awesome painted figure. But it's quite unique about that particular bust. It's very big, but it has to be for a reason. So again, something that comes with experience. What else have we got there? Do you use oils or an enamels much?
I don't use them at all. I have fairly sensitive skin and senses, so the chemicals that you've got to use to dilute them hurt my nose, and so I stick with just acrylics.
All right. Ivan has a question for you. Let's go then. How you work in all the possible views with non-metal metallic and a 360 feeling?
Okay, so this is something I touched on a little bit before, and it's a misconception I think a lot of people have with non-metallics that can only work from one angle.
Yes.
And only for photos, but it's just not true. It just depends on how you paint it. My great sword piece is an example of where one of my, I think, most advanced attempts at using this. So from front on, and you can see this much better in person.
You really can, yeah.
But from front on, the metal is
actually
off to the side a bit.
It's here. We can go get it and bring it on.
What would you like?
Could you get? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to get it, Dave, or Catlin?
Catarin, the great sword.
Yep.
Yep.
You trust me, right?
Yeah. Just be careful because the chicken is a little bit. Yeah. So,
We'll bring it on. We'll bring it on.
So from front on, the focus, I've tried to make the metal quite dark, so that it doesn't take any interest from the face in that view. But it's still there as a surrounding, so on the sword and on the side, slightly to the side of the armour. But then when you turn the armour, because I've also used a bit of satin and gloss varnish on the white sections of the armour.
Let's get all live paint and things out of the way.
No, I've already changed the camera setup.
Yeah.
Asleep.
I'll try and.
Should be able to switch back to model view now.
I'll try and point this out.
Move it up, Dave.
Up?
Yeah, up. Here we go. Have a look at that.
So, let's get the light this way a little bit. There we go. So, I've really tried from this front view to make the hair and the face become the focal point. See, you don't see so much of the metal from here. You've got this surrounding areas here. You can see the brightness in the metal here. But then as you turn it, the metal starts to come out more. You see that? Can you see that in the video?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Go back.
Absolutely, you can.
And so now it drags your eye down here, and the metal becomes the most focus point here. So you can really enjoy the metals from this angle.
Perfectly, yeah. And then can we go to the other side as well? You're going
going
all the way. We're going
around.
we're going on a world tour of this. Let's go.
And then I've got another highlight down the top of the arm here, which isn't as bright as this, but if I had left this dark, it would create, I'm using this word a lot this weekend, but it would create that dissonance where you see a reflection of the real world light in the darkness. And so if you have a bit of a highlight here, it doesn't have to go, this is probably in the 10:1 scale.
Yeah.
This is probably a 6 or even a 5. It's not that bright, but it can be deceptive. But as long as it's brighter than the darkers on either side of it, it will trick the eye and think that you're seeing a highlight, and then it make you want to turn back the other way, which is what I want to do.
I really love this piece. I'm just going to the
then,
more I look at this, the more I love it every time.
And then we've got the other side. I've tried to be, I don't know if we've done this well or not, but I've tried to make it seem like there's a lantern or like a pot lamp.
A brazier or something.
Brazier,
right? Yeah.
just off scene here. I didn't want to put it in because I felt like it would overwhelm with OSL too much. So
yeah.
I've tried to make it seem like the bright orange lights that are reflecting in the metal are much brighter only in the metal because metal reflects more, but you can still see
it's in the
colours of it in other elements. But then as you move further away, because it's daytime, it can't overpower the sun. So the sun takes over, so it will only shine into the shadows. It will only go orange in the shadows because the sun is stronger. And so there's only a few areas, because if the sun is coming from maybe this angle here,
absolutely.
And that's how you can use it to a 360 degree view. And then even from the back, I've tried to think about like giving the idea of the street behind her being reflected.
Awesome. All right, we're getting close to our deadline now. So please filter in any last questions. I'm going to pick one of whatever comes through, and then we're going to call it. The chicken, how long did it take?
Sculpting and painting. Painting was probably 6 hours on the chicken.
Yeah.
Sculpting probably a bit longer, and I had some help from the great Hugo Gomez Briones. Check him out. He's a great sculptor.
Yeah.
But he helped me put the finishing touches on it that brought it to a level that really helped this piece. I think like it really needed it. It's put it over the top for me. Like, this is my favourite personal piece, but because Alejandro Munoz sculpted the model, it's my favourite model.
Yeah.
Anyway, I could go on about it for a fair while.
So interestingly, I was having a conversation earlier in the day with someone about this model, and it's really funny because, I mean, we all understand that Dave is an incredible painter. But some of the areas that in the past you may have felt you struggled with a little bit is like storytelling and a little bit of that atmosphere, basing and a bit of that sort of those random elements. And so that is why you decided to go back to this piece and add the chicken in. Right?
Yeah, I had a suggestion from someone, just a random comment online, just one comment. Someone who recognised the model from the artwork that it was created from, and the original artwork has a chicken on the shoulder of the guy.
Yes.
And it was just the perfect thing to add, like just to give the homage to the artwork that I love so much that caused me to create this model that's my favourite model. It's sculpted to a standard. Like the model does so much.
The model's immaculate.
Like it is really so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, and Cujo, it does it in the hand as well. So, funnily enough, Trent was not when we travelled up to Guilds Inn together. So I was fortunate enough to see this sort of before most people, and people were pulling out their stuff, and there was some wonderful stuff there to check out. And Trent was getting hyped, man. He was seeing stuff. He was like, "This is awesome. Everything's looking good." And we're like, "Wait till you see what Dave pulls out." What did you think at that moment, my friend?
Fuck you, Dave.
It was an awesome moment. It really was. So, no. All right. Well, I guess at this point now we really have to wrap up. So,
Thanks everyone for tuning in. It seems like the stream has had a fair few people in there, which makes me happy. I'm glad to see there were a lot of people who wanted to drop in and see how we do NMM.
How you do things.
I was able to help.
Yeah. Thanks for us for coming and being a part of it.
Thanks to Andy for your help. It really made things go well. I think it's good the way we work together. So
yeah, I think we do have a pretty good dynamic in the way that we do things.
Anything you want to discuss? Future plans?
Not right now.
Right now, but just know that because of this, we are thinking about the future, Dave and I. We have some things we have to get through. There's some external challenges that must be faced, but please know if you are in Australia, we are thinking about how we can help you.
And loving it, Quirky Cat. Send it to me.
Poor and cryptic response.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
We just like to help people learn, you know.
Yeah,
so that
exactly.
might mean teaching eventually.
Exactly. It might mean teaching.
Wonderful. We're going to go to a little break now before we're going to do the Stream's Choice Awards. So stay tuned. It'll be in about 10 minutes' time.
What a weekend!
Stream's Choice.
Thanks again, everyone, and we will see you soon.